Welcome to the last episode of the LinkedIn Trust Series here at Advertising Week New York in 2017. I'm happy to have with me Mike Donahue of Connect the Dots. Welcome.
Thank you, BJ. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You are a champion for cleaning up fraud, aren't you?
I definitely am, yes.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about fraud and what can be done to clean it up.
Well, there's a lot of good work being done now, but it's all after the fact. And it happens because there are 330 million websites and only 10 million of them are visited by humans. And yet marketers are spending money on many of those sites that don't have humans. And I think it's counterintuitive that they do that. So I do believe that as good as whitelists and blacklists are, they're all after the fact. And I believe that it's critically important that we develop a way that no marketer money goes to any site until it's determined that there are humans visiting that site.
Right.
Okay? And I'm in the process of working with someone to see if we can make that happen, and I think by early 2018 that will be happening.
So I'm curious, how do you actually determine which sites are being visited by humans?
Well, the most important thing is that you know the good sites, but you don't always know the bad sites. And what needs to happen is that in the early stages, you make sure that you're not sending ads to a spoof domain, that if the advertiser uses his own server to do this, they can make sure that before anything gets sent, those sites are verified to be real sites. And importantly, when an agency acts on the marketer's behalf and it reaches out to get impressions, they don't pay for those impressions until the marketer pays them. That's a long time, too long actually. But in the meantime, they can vet whether those impressions are real impressions and only pay for the real impressions. But if the agency's serving as a principal, then what they do is they send money ahead of time, they get impressions, they resell them, and a lot of those impressions are not human impressions. And that's going to stop, and I think you'll see that come to a stop.
Just curious, this is definitely a noble cause and something that needs to be addressed. What got you into doing this research and fighting this cause?
Well, on the fraud side, it's been verified in a conference last year in Asia that whether the amount of money being diverted, marketer money, is a few billion or as much as 17 billion as one of the
17 billion being diverted?
$17 billion that money is being spent that never gets on a site that's visited by humans. And the biggest problem is that there is verification, and I think you're going to hear about this, that most of that money is going to nation states, what I say are really bad actors in really bad places, with unfortunately a lot of it, if not all of it, going to ISIS. That's just counterintuitive that the money goes to places like that. And I think you're going to start, the marketers are now realizing, and Mark Pritchard started this in January, he said, I was guilty of what's called FOMO, fear of missing out, because this is such a great new medium. He's not guilty of that anymore, and more importantly, he's not guilty of what I call FOFO, fear of finding out. And that gets me into the crappy supply chain, because right now, marketers are lucky if 40 cents of their digital dollar that they want on a digital screen actually gets there. And that happens because there are lots of people between in the middle of the chain who are hopefully doing good things, and a lot of them are duplicative, and a lot of them add cost and no value. And I think you're going to see that 40 cents go from 40 cents to 70 or 80 cents. Some money needs to be spent. The moats, the verification needs to happen, the measurement needs to happen. But too much of that money is being wasted, and marketers are now realizing that. And as I said earlier, they're not guilty of FOFO anymore. They're finding out, and they're not afraid of finding out, and they're going to change that.
Yeah, you talk about the prices changing. So obviously, because there's not so much bogus inventory out there, right, that people are paying for, that drives the prices up because there's less inventory available, but it's quality inventory, correct?
That for me, that's okay.
And then
go ahead. I've interrupted.
The next step is clearly it's going to take cost and technology to clean this up, right?
Well, not as much as you might think. I mean, the common sense principles are marketers want to know where their ads run. That's the way they do in other media.
Right.
They want to make sure that they have access to the log servers on both the buy side and the sell side, because the log server is ground truth. Only recently are they now beginning to get access to the buy side, and there's only one company on the sell side called Huddled Masses which gives them access. And when you put those two together, publishers are going to be in better shape, a lot of it through header bidding, and marketers are going to know everything that happens. I mean, when you're buying television, if the ad runs, you pay for it. If it doesn't, you don't.
You got to make that.
In my market, there's a lot of ads that never run, and they're still paid for it.
You know, that, and going back to the cost question, to put this in round numbers, you know, I think if we look at it, if somebody is spending $4,000 for ads that are, quite a bit of them are fake, right?
Yeah.
Versus the price going up to 70 cents, which would, you know, bring you up to a $7,000. So $4,000 spend versus $7,000 spend, but ideally, because you're getting rid of all the fake ads and you're going into good places, then your return on investment is going to be much higher.
Exactly. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, BJ, because my latest blog was called ROI, knowing all three definitions of the word I. Marketers are interested in return on investment. But the two things they have to find out before they can ever calculate return on investment is return on intent, the intention of what they're trying to do. If they're trying to get zillions of impressions at the lowest cost, which a lot of the procurement people insist on, that's bad intent. And if they're looking, and in reality, if they're looking for return on impressions, which they should, it should be return on human impressions, not bot impressions. When you put those two together, you will improve your return on investment.
So you're shooting for 2018, the end of 2018, to have some of this technology in place?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I mean, even the fraud technology is in, I mean, anti-fraud is in place now, and I've got a very expert person working on that, and that will happen over the course of next year. The cleaning up the supply chain is happening as we speak. You're seeing many of the DSPs and SSPs and even some of the data suppliers being bought or going out of business because they're just not delivering the value. And the key thing is marketers are now looking for value and not just reduced cost.
In your mind, you know, I'm hesitant to say when the problem will go away completely, but how long do you think it would be before the majority of this, the supply chains and the fraud prevention methods, how long do you think it would be before that is in place?
I think by this time next year, you're going to see a lot of this in place.
On all areas.
Both on fraud and on reduced inefficiency in the supply chain. More money going on screens at a higher cost per thousand, but to your own point, they're real people, they're not bots.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could spend $10,000 on bots and get no return, or I could spend $10,000 on real clicks and
pay a high CPM, but you know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah,
because you're never going to get a return on a bot.
No way. That's right.
Well, Mike, it's good talking to you.
BJ, great for you too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And so this is going to wrap up our wonderful week here at Advertising Week New York in 2017. And this has been the LinkedIn Trust Series. You can find more of these LinkedIn Trust Series videos online, as well as everything we've done at AW360 and all of the sessions that have occurred here over the week. I want to thank our great team here at AW360. And you guys can't see them, but I'm looking at almost all of you. From the people who make us look good and sound good. It's been a wonderful experience, and I look forward to seeing everybody next year.